The hardest part wasn't the suspicion. It wasn't even the gut punches of doubt. It was watching my wife, Rachel, get ready for a night out with her boss, Marcus Dalton. She put on a dress I'd never seen before, tight, low-cut, with heels that clicked across the floor like a metronome counting down to Heartbreak. She spent forever on her hair and makeup, contouring her cheekbones, layering on perfume like she was going on a first date. But not with me. That stung the most. I stood there, silent, trying to swallow the betrayal, the jealousy, the rising heat in my chest. All that effort, every curl, every brush stroke, every shimmer, was for Marcus. While I'd busted my ass at work to provide for our family, she was playing dress up for another man. And here's the thing, our sex life was solid. More than solid. Rachel was attentive, affectionate, open. We'd been married 20 years, and I never once doubted her loyalty, until a month ago. It happened at her firm's annual dinner. Marcus had his hands all over her on the dance floor, laughing too loud, pulling her too close. And then he looked at me, really looked at me, with this smug, knowing smirk. Like he was telling me without words that I'd already lost. Something about that look wouldn't let me go. It clawed at my gut all night. The next morning, I brought it up to Rachel. I figured she'd roll her eyes or laugh it off. But instead, she jumped to his defense. That confirmed it. That was the moment the foundation started to crack. The late-night meetings. The last-minute lunch cancellations. Things that used to seem routine now felt like flashing warning signs. Rachel worked directly under Marcus. She was his personal assistant, and he was the managing partner at a high-end law firm. The guy oozed wealth and status, custom suits, flashy cars, Rolexes. And his wife? Stella. Barely 30. Model material. The kind of woman who makes heads turn. He traded in his first wife of 20 years for that upgrade. That told me everything I needed to know about the kind of man he was. Marcus was one of those guys who thought every conversation was a competition. He loved making digs at people, always dressed up as jokes. I still remember the day he mocked my career. We were out walking after a firm event when he turned to me and said, "So, Jack, how's life at Home Depot treating you? Must be fun playing with nuts and bolts all day." I sell industrial fasteners to major retailers. Not sexy, sure, but I clear over $200,000 a year. I've given Rachel a good life. Paid for our daughter Megan's college tuition. We live in a nice neighborhood, drive decent cars, host backyard barbecues. I may not be rich like Marcus, but I thought we were happy. Until I saw my wife laugh at that damn joke. That laugh sliced through me. She knew how hard I worked, how much pride I took in providing for our family. And there she was, laughing with the man who belittled everything I do. I walked away from that moment, humiliated and angry. She followed me, asked what was wrong, but I couldn't even speak at first. When I finally told her, she brushed it off with, "Oh, babe, he's just joking. Marcus teases everyone. You shouldn't take it personally." I should have walked out then. But I didn't. I stayed. Because I loved her. Because I wanted to believe. But that night stayed with me. The smirk. The laugh. The lies I hadn't uncovered yet. I knew I wasn't crazy. And I sure as hell wasn't going to sit around like a clueless fool. Marcus had that alpha vibe, tall, well-dressed, smooth-talking. He had the money, the influence, the swagger. The kind of guy who thinks he can take whatever he wants. Even another man's wife. So I started making moves. Within a week, I ordered 6 audio bugs and 5 hidden cameras. High-end stuff, live streaming, 8K resolution, motion sensors. I wasn't playing games. I hid the first camera inside the smoke detector in our bedroom. 2 more caught different angles of the same room. Another one in the master bath. The last 2 covered the living room. They fed everything wirelessly to a PC in the attic, which I could control from my phone. As for audio, I planted one in a pen next to the kitchen phone and another in Rachel's car. I tucked standard voice recorders into 3 of her favorite handbags and one behind our headboard. If she spoke anywhere in that house, I'd hear it. If she brought someone in, I'd see it. I wasn't just being paranoid. I needed proof, real, undeniable evidence. Because if Rachel was lying, I wanted to catch her in the act. The following week, I had a business trip coming up. Just like every other time, Rachel smothered me with kisses before I left. Sweet words, soft touches, that spark in her eyes like I was the only man she ever wanted. She never failed to make me feel loved. That was the worst part. It made the whole thing even harder to believe. But deep down, I couldn't shake the feeling. Something was coming. I just didn't know how bad it was going to hurt. I love you so much, baby. I love making love to you, she whispered, her eyes glistening with tears. With a soft smile, Rachel looked up at me and said, I love you too, Jack. You're amazing. I'll love you forever. It was one of those nights, the kind that sticks with you. Everything about it felt real, intimate, like the kind of closeness you only build after 2 decades of marriage. Lying there afterward, holding her, I genuinely believed she could never betray me. I almost pulled the plug on the surveillance setup. Almost. But something deep down, some quiet warning, kept me from dismantling anything. I left the cameras running, packed up, and headed out for my 2-night trip. If something was going to happen, this would give her enough time. I figured, worst case, I'd come home to nothing suspicious and just feel a little silly for doubting her. We kissed goodbye like always. I told her I'd call when I got to the hotel. By 6 p.m., I was already on the road, cruising through familiar highways for the 3-hour drive ahead. I spent most of the trip reflecting on the past 6 months. Other than the 2 moments that stuck in my craw, Marcus' smug smirk and his little Home Depot dig, there hadn't been any concrete signs. I laughed at myself, thinking maybe I really was being paranoid. Rachel had always been faithful, hadn't she? When I checked into the hotel, I dropped my bags and flopped onto the king-size bed, firing up my laptop. After skimming through a few work emails, I opened the app that linked to the server in our attic. I didn't expect to find anything, but I wanted to test the remote access while I had time. I pulled up the footage and set it to fast forward through the past 3 hours. Eventually, I saw Rachel walk into the bedroom. I slowed the video to normal speed and watched her. She was making a phone call. And then I heard his name. Marcus. It hit me like a gut punch. I froze, my eyes glued to the screen as Rachel lay back on our bed, phone in hand, her voice light and playful. I could only hear her side of the conversation, but it was enough. She told him I had just left for a 2-night trip and that she was all alone. I watched her tell him she wanted to wake up next to him, that she couldn't wait to be in his arms. They started figuring out when he could come over without his wife getting suspicious. My heart sank. An hour ago, I was kissing her goodbye. Now she was whispering sweet nothings to another man, our daughter's boss. The same guy who made a fool of me in front of everyone. The same guy she defended. I stared at the screen, numb, as she told him she was his. Completely his. They exchanged I love yous, like it meant nothing. Like our 20 years together meant nothing. And then came the question I couldn't shake. Was he coming tonight? For the next hour, I sat in that hotel room, watching a woman I thought I knew get ready for someone else. She showered. She slipped into black lace lingerie I'd never seen before. Then came the high heels, the makeup, the curling iron. 30 minutes on her hair, every detail perfect. She looked like she was prepping for a fashion shoot. But not for me. For him. I felt sick. Angry. Jealous. She had never gone to those lengths for me, not even on our anniversary. It wasn't just betrayal, it was intentional. She wanted to seduce him. Wanted to impress him. And then the doorbell rang. There was Marcus, waltzing into my home like he belonged there. The camera caught everything in real time. The kiss they shared at the doorway. It wasn't just a peck. It was deep. Hungry. I took a screenshot. I wish I hadn't. The image made me gag. Literally. He looked at her like she was a prize, and then he said, "Damn, baby. You look incredible in that dress. I can't wait to tear it off and make love to you all night long. She giggled, smiled, took his hand and led him straight to our bedroom. I watched in disbelief as she undressed him, slow, deliberate. The guy looked like he belonged in a magazine, tall, jacked, six-pack abs. Everything I'm not. Jealousy clawed at my throat, but what hit harder was the sheer boldness of it all. They weren't sneaking around. They were comfortable. Familiar. This wasn't a fling, it was something deeper. I threw up again. And then I sat there. In the dark. Listening. Listening to the sounds coming from our bedroom. Sounds of her and Marcus. Together. In my home. In my bed. It was over. I knew it then. My marriage, my trust, my belief in who Rachel was, all shattered. I wish I could say the worst part was seeing them together. But it wasn't. The most painful part of that night was hearing their conversation afterward, when they lay tangled in my sheets like nothing they were doing was wrong. Marcus started talking first, his voice smug, relaxed. He joked about my absence, saying something like, "Well, your husband's gone for a couple nights, which means you're all mine." Rachel giggled. Then she said she was thrilled he could stay the night, that she'd been dreaming of waking up next to him for so long. She told him she loved being with him. And then he said something that made my stomach twist. He said he couldn't wait to have her. Again and again all night. While her husband, me, was out working hard, completely in the dark. He said it like it was a joke, but I could hear the edge in his voice. Arrogant. Proud. Rachel, at least what was left of the version of her I thought I knew, tried to inject a little reason. She called the situation foolish. Said I was a good man and that she loved me. But then she turned right around and told him not to get too sentimental. He asked her why she let him be this close if she really loved me. Then he brushed off the question himself, saying, "Screw it, we're both married. Let's just enjoy this while we can." And she agreed. Just like that. Like we were a temporary inconvenience, not people with lives built around them. Then he told her she made him feel more loved, more wanted than any woman ever had, including his wife. He said it wasn't just sex for him. He said it was deeper. That Rachel made him feel alive. That one felt like a punch to the ribs. Because the love he was talking about, that was supposed to be mine. Ours. And then, because apparently, humiliation has no bottom, he asked her if I satisfied her the way he did. She hesitated, but said I was a great lover. Then she smiled and said, "But you're not him." She said I couldn't make her feel what he did. I slammed the laptop shut. I couldn't watch anymore. Couldn't listen. I sat there, in that dark hotel room, fists clenched, heart shattered, the image of my wife wrapped around another man playing over and over in my head. Every moan. Every whisper. Every kiss. I stayed up all night. Rage and heartbreak kept sleep miles away. Somewhere between the waves of fury and the emptiness, I realized something. This wasn't going to end quickly. This would be a long, painful process. There was no undoing what I'd seen, no erasing what I'd heard. I knew revenge was whispering in the background. But I didn't want to be reckless. I wanted to be smart. When I finally returned home the next day, everything seemed normal. Too normal. Rachel greeted me like she always did, with open arms, a big kiss, and that sugary smile I used to love so much. You'd never guess she had just spent the night wrapped around another man. She acted like nothing had happened. But something had changed, inside me. That kiss used to make me feel whole. Now it made my skin crawl. I kept it together, forced a smile, even kissed her back. But in my head, I was screaming. I became an actor, and I played the role flawlessly. That week, I organized all the footage and recordings. I backed up everything to the cloud, encrypted the files, and saved them in a hidden folder on my computer. I had the truth, and now I had it locked down. For the next 2 weeks, I did something I'm not proud of. I stayed. I played the doting husband. I kept Rachel close, filled her schedule with errands, plans, little tasks. I didn't give her a single excuse to sneak away for a quickie or meet up. After work. It didn't take long before she asked about my next trip. Classic. One morning, while she was on the way to the office, I caught a conversation in her car. He asked, "When's your husband heading out of town again?" She answered, "I'm not sure, but I'll find out." "It's gotta happen soon, baby." That was all I needed to hear. I scheduled a fake one-night business trip, just enough to give them another chance to fall into their routine. That evening, Rachel and I were watching a movie when she asked, all casual, "Honey, when's your next trip?" I forced a chuckle and replied, "What, trying to get rid of me? You got a secret boyfriend who shows up when I'm gone?" She laughed. Didn't flinch. No guilt in her eyes. "Don't be silly," she said. "I like it when you're home. I was just wondering if your travel got cut back." I smiled. Played along. "Nope. Still the same. I've got an evening meeting next Tuesday, back Wednesday." She pouted. "I hate when you leave. I miss you so much when you're gone." Then she kissed me. Long, slow, deep. And all I could think about was how she probably kissed Marcus just like that. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw her across the room. But I didn't. I stayed calm. I had a plan. When Tuesday rolled around, I packed like normal, kissed her goodbye, and left like I always did. But I didn't go anywhere. Instead, I drove to my office, parked in the back, and slipped inside. I stayed there all evening, pretending to work late. A few coworkers saw me, but nobody thought twice. It wasn't out of the ordinary. Then, right on cue, around 7:30 p.m., the live feed on my phone lit up. Marcus was back. He walked into my home again like he owned the place, and my wife welcomed him the exact same way she'd said goodbye to me, tender kiss, soft eyes, greedy hands. And just like that, it was showtime. Using the app on my phone, I shut off the live feed from the camera. Then I powered down the device and stashed it in my desk drawer. No GPS, no trail. Quietly, I left the office without a word. In the trunk of my car was a folding electric bike. I pulled it out, unfolded it, and checked the charge. It could hit 30 miles an hour and go up to 50 miles on a full battery, more than enough for the 12-mile ride back to the house. I wore a black hoodie, kept my head down, and stayed in the shadows. The whole point was stealth. No engine noise, no headlights, no one to ask questions. In less than 20 minutes, I was back behind my house. I parked the bike behind the hedge and slipped through the back sliding door, which I'd left slightly ajar. I didn't rush. I stood there, silent, listening. I could hear movement upstairs, sounds from the bedroom. They were too preoccupied to notice me. I moved to the hallway closet, pulled out a short-barreled hunting rifle and an aluminum bat. I left the rifle just outside the bedroom and gripped the bat tight in both hands. The door was slightly cracked, just enough for candlelight to flicker into the hallway. Their voices, soft, intimate, were the only sound in the house. I walked in. Rachel didn't even hear me. Neither did Marcus. One swing. That's all it took. The aluminum bat connected with the side of his head with a sickening thud, and the 250-pound prick dropped like a sandbag to the floor. The sound of flesh meeting metal was loud, but not louder than the collapse of his body hitting the carpet. I picked up the rifle, flicked on the light. Rachel screamed. "Oh my God, Jack! No! Please! This can't be real. Why are you here? You were supposed to be gone." I stared at her, calm, controlled. "Why are you with another man in my bed, Rachel? That's the real question. Now shut up. Both of you. Pay attention." Marcus groaned, semi-conscious, blood trickling down the side of his face from a gash nearly 6 inches wide. He leaned back against the wall, trying to gather his bearings. I aimed the rifle at him. He looked up, groggy, scared. "Jesus Christ, this hurts. Why'd you hit me? Are you serious?" I snapped. "You're screwing my wife in my own house and you're surprised I hit you?" He tried to sit up straighter, eyes flicking nervously between me and the gun. What are you going to do? You scared now? I said, inching the barrel closer. You should be. I know what you two have been doing. Tonight is payback. You're going to die, Marcus. Everything you've built, gone. Hope it was worth it. Dude, if you kill me, you're going to prison for the rest of your life. I leaned in, smiling coldly. Then maybe we all die tonight. How does that sound? I had no intention of killing him. But they didn't know that. The fear in his eyes was real. And I fed off it. Rachel was sobbing, curled up in the corner, her body trembling, trying to cover herself with the sheets. Baby, please, she cried. Don't do this. I love you. I really do. Please put the gun down. Let's talk. I turned the rifle on her. Talk? You want to talk now? All of this, is because you wanted adventure outside our marriage. Whatever happens tonight, you brought it on yourself. Either of them moved. They were frozen. They knew I had the upper hand, and if they wanted to leave that room alive, they had to keep it together. The rifle was loaded with special shells, custom rounds I'd made with a mix of salt and concentrated pepper spray resin. It wouldn't kill anyone. But it would make them wish it had. Marcus, trying to show some fight, suddenly lunged at me. Bad move. I pulled the trigger. The shot exploded through the room, a cloud of smoke and agony. He screamed, a raw, guttural howl, and dropped again, this time clutching his side and writhing on the floor. When he finally stopped screaming and could sit upright, I walked over and kicked his leg hard to get his attention. You listening now? I said, looking between him and Rachel. Both of you listen close. I'm leaving in a few minutes. You're going to get this loser into your car and take him to the ER. You're not calling 911. You're not telling them anything about how this happened. If either of you so much as mention my name or the word affair to anyone, the photos, videos, and audio recordings go public. Everything. I turned to Marcus. Don't fire her. She'll need that job once the divorce is finalized. And if either of you come after me legally or refuse my terms, I'll bury you with what I've got. Get him to the hospital before he bleeds out. I finished. And remember, I'm not bluffing. Then I was gone. I left the house the same way I'd entered. Fixed the back door, locked it behind me. Slipped the rifle and bat into a duffel bag and pedaled my bike through the back streets, sticking to the shadows. I tossed the rifle and bat into different spots in the river on the ride back, got rid of the gloves in a public trash can, then made it back to the office by 9 p.m. My bike went back in the trunk, and I returned to my desk like nothing had happened. To anyone in the building, I was just another guy working late. I stayed until midnight. Nobody saw me leave. As far as anyone knew, my car never left the lot. My badge was scanned in. There was no camera showing me outside the building. If they ever decided to come forward, it would be their word against mine. And neither of them had the nerve to risk it. Marcus ended up needing surgery, 18 stitches in his scalp and a mild concussion. He had to shave his head. According to him, he couldn't remember what happened. Said he was walking home after giving his assistant some documents, and then, nothing. Yeah. He chose silence. Smart man. I could have ruined his life. His career. His marriage. But I didn't. Not yet. Rachel was completely shaken. She didn't say a word to anyone about what had happened. The only thing she told anyone, when they inevitably asked, was that she'd heard a loud bang, gone outside, and found Marcus lying there. She panicked, thought there wasn't time for an ambulance, and rushed him to the hospital herself. Neither of them offered any explanation as to why he was half naked. They stuck to their stories. Word for word. Apparently, Marcus's wife wasn't buying it. Rumor had it their home life turned upside down after that. Good. That afternoon, I pulled every hidden device from the house. Every camera, every mic, all of it. I uploaded the files, every single one, to a locked and encrypted cloud folder. No one could access it but me. Then I tossed all the gear. scrubbed the place clean. By 6 p.m., Rachel came home. She found me sitting on the couch with a half-empty bottle of top-shelf whiskey on the table, and a kind of look on my face that made it clear I wasn't in the mood for games. She looked awful, pale, drained, and broken in a way I'd never seen before. And for a brief second, something inside me wanted to feel sorry for her. But the anger came back before I could. She sat across from me. Her hands trembled. Her lips quivered. And then came the waterworks. "Jack," she started, voice cracking. "What you saw, what you heard, it was awful. But I need you to know, I wasn't in love with him. I know it must have looked that way, and God, I know it hurt. But you know me. After sex, I need connection. I need that emotional release. And it was all for you, baby. I swear. I just hated being alone when you were gone." Marcus, he just filled the silence. She wiped her face, breathing hard between sobs. "Yes, it got physical. Yes, it went too far. But it wasn't love. It was never love. Please believe that." I just stared at her. My mouth hung open, not in shock, but in sheer disbelief at how pathetic her excuse was. "Rachel," I said, cold as ice. "I heard you. I heard everything. And no matter how many times you say those words were meant for me, I know damn well they were for him. It's over." She started to speak, but I cut her off. 20 years, Rachel. 20 good years, gone. And all because of your boss and your betrayal. We both get to live with your choices now. Thanks for the pain. I'll treasure it always. I meant every word. "What do we do now?" she asked through tears, voice barely above a whisper. "We're done," I said. "You broke something that can't be fixed. I'll never understand how you could do this to me, or why. But I know one thing, I'll never forgive you." I stood up, still holding my glass. "But I made a promise, and I'm keeping it. I won't tell Sarah. I won't tell your parents. They'll never know what kind of woman you really are. That part's on you. You'll have to explain the divorce. But be warned, if you try to make me the villain in this story, if you even hint at blaming me, everything comes out. The videos, the audio, the screenshots. I'll burn you down publicly." She froze. "I'm putting the house up for sale. In the meantime, you need to find somewhere else to stay. You don't get to live here anymore, not after what you did. I'm not asking. I'm telling you. And when I send the divorce papers," I added, "sign them. Don't fight it. If you do, it'll get ugly. For you. And for your boyfriend." "He's not my boyfriend," she cried, burying her face in her hands. "I don't love him. Please, Jack, can't we fix this? Is there anything I can do? I know I screwed up, but I can't lose you. I'll do anything. Please don't leave me." I wanted to yell, to scream. But instead I just shook my head. "Rachel, if it had just been sex, maybe, we could have done counseling or a separation. Maybe we could have had a shot at rebuilding. But it wasn't just sex. You gave him love. You gave him the part of you that was supposed to be mine. The words you said to him, those broke everything. I can't forget them. I won't forgive them. We're done." She sobbed for hours, begging for a second chance. I didn't flinch. The next morning, she left and went to stay with her parents. She was gone before I even woke up. The house felt quieter than ever. Later that week, I got a visit from the police. Marcus had reported the incident, and they came knocking, trying to poke holes in my alibi. Asked where I was that night. What time I left. What I knew. I stuck to the truth, my truth. I was at the office. My car never left the lot. There were people who saw me. I even had badge scans and timestamps. As far as anyone could prove, I hadn't gone anywhere. They couldn't touch me. I hired a lawyer and made it clear to the cops, without a warrant or actual evidence, I wasn't answering a single question. I had an airtight alibi. No proof, no case. They eventually backed off and dropped the whole thing. Officially, the incident was logged as a random burglary and assault. Just another mystery buried in the system. Rachel and her family kept calling, leaving messages that grew more desperate by the day. She loves you. She's broken. Please reconsider. Just try counseling. I stopped picking up. Then I changed my number. Cut off everything. Yeah, it hurt. Every second of being apart from her was like peeling skin off bone. But no amount of pain could make me forget what she did. I couldn't erase her betrayal from my memory, and I knew I'd never be able to live with it. Rachel, 42 now, a single mom, moved into a tiny one-bedroom apartment. She lived on her salary alone. The nice life she once had was gone. Our daughter, Sarah, and the rest of her family blamed her for everything. She had to carry that weight all by herself. Meanwhile, Marcus was too busy trying to salvage what was left of his own marriage to be there for her. And at work? He threw her under the bus. Said nothing. Didn't protect her. She ended up getting demoted, moved into some dull admin role with no upward path. Same paycheck, but the respect, the prestige? All gone. People started whispering. Word got out that she'd been one of Marcus's ex-girlfriends, and that was all it took. She wasn't one of the team anymore. She had no real friends left. No support. No future at that job. No husband. The depression crept in fast. Sarah tried to be there for her, but the damage had been done. Rachel stopped eating right, started drinking too much. Every night she cried. Every night she said she missed me. That she didn't know how to go on. That she hated herself for what she did. She was haunted by the night she broke us. The night she thought she could have both worlds. When Sarah came to me for advice, I tried to be gentle. I told her I was sorry things turned out this way, but I never opened the door to reconciliation. As for Marcus, well, his wife, Stella, didn't let him off easy. She made his life hell, parading around with younger guys, using his bank account to fund her social life while publicly dragging him around like dead weight. They still showed up to events together, but everyone knew they weren't really a couple anymore. He'd never know love again. Never have sex again. Not real love. Not intimacy. Not connection. Just the cold echo of the night everything fell apart, because he went after someone else's wife. But his bitterness? That didn't disappear. He hated me. And I knew it. So I wasn't surprised when, months later, I got jumped outside a bar. I was having a drink with a few colleagues when it happened, ambushed, beaten hard before my friends rushed in and scared them off. I ended up in the hospital for 2 days. Broken ribs. 20 stitches. Bruised but breathing. They didn't rob me. They didn't say a word. I was sure they meant to kill me. And if my friends hadn't been there, maybe they would have. I knew where it came from. And I knew what I had to do. 6 weeks later, I felt strong enough to finish this once and for all. I picked up the phone and called Marcus's office. Mr. Dalton, please, I told the receptionist. I'm sorry, he's in a meeting, she said. Can I take a message? Yeah. Tell him Johnny says to meet me at the old One Cog, French deli across the street, this Friday. 1 o'clock. Alone. She hesitated. Sir, I don't schedule personal. Just write it down. I said. Friday. 1 o'clock. French deli. Alone. Tell him Johnny said it's important. He'll know. Friday came. I got there early, picked the table near the door. The one with the best view of who walked in. I sat facing the entrance, arms folded. At 1:03 he walked in. Alone. He spotted me right away. I gave a small nod and motioned to the chair across from me. He sat down hard, tense. What the hell do you want? I looked him straight in the eye. And I smiled. I looked Marcus square in the eye. Thanks for coming, I said calmly. Your guys did a solid job, but they didn't finish it. Because you didn't listen. You ignored my warning. You pushed me to act. I slid a folded piece of paper across the table. That, I said, is a link to a website created just for you. It's hosted on servers out of Syria, with backups. It's untraceable. And you're screwed. Take a look when you're back at your desk. He looked like he wanted to lunge across the table and strangle me. His fists were clenched, jaw tight. I left Rachel's face out of it. I added, "She shouldn't pay for your sins. But the rest of it? All of it? Yours." He was already fuming. "You've ruined my life. Just stop. Please. Or we'll both disappear. That's why we're here," I said, leaning forward. "I want to end this. You took the most important thing in my life, my wife. You destroyed 20 years of marriage, of memories, of love. I might never be whole again. But I'm not letting you walk away unscathed." His voice dropped. "All right. What do you want?" "Two things. Non-negotiable," I said. "First, you stop. No more retaliation. Not against me. Not against Rachel. Not against anyone I know." He gave a slight nod. "Second, you wire $1 million to the account listed on that paper. By Friday. No later than 9 p.m. He blinked. "A million? Are you out of your mind?" "Not really," I said. "Consider it a gift. A small price for destroying a man's life." He glared at me. "And if I agree? What guarantee do I have you won't still nuke my world?" "I'm a man of my word," I said simply. "And if you don't? Then I give you a 100% guarantee that this site goes viral by Saturday morning. Your name, your voice, your face, all of it. And I hope you live with that." He didn't respond. He didn't have to. By the end of the week, the money was in the account. We sold the house. Split everything down the middle. Rachel had enough left to live comfortably, as long as she kept working or found someone else to marry. Part of the deal with Marcus was that he'd keep her employed. And he did. But he never looked at her the same way again. Whatever connection they'd once had, illusion or not, was gone. She never remarried. Rarely even dated. She lived with the weight of what she did for the rest of her life. The guilt. The shame. The heartbreak. She'd lost her marriage. And the man she thought she wanted to build a new life with. Rachel never made it to 50. She died early, alone, broken. A shell of the woman I used to love. Sarah was the only one who attended her small ceremony, where she scattered her ashes near the ocean. I kept working for a few more years. Eventually, I retired to a quiet coastal town. Peaceful. Simple. I met a good woman there. Kind, smart, soft-spoken. She liked me for who I was, and we made a life together. I cared for her deeply. But that deep, complicated, once-in-a-lifetime kind of love, that was still buried with Rachel. I never spoke to her again. Not once. I only heard about her through Sarah, who stayed in touch and called often. We were close, always had been. But she didn't bring up her mother much. She knew I still carried that wound, even if I never showed it. When Sarah told me about Rachel's passing, I didn't say much. But later that night, I poured myself a drink, sat out on the deck, and stared at the ocean for a long, long time. And somewhere in that silence, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Relief. Not joy. Not peace. But relief. Because even though the pain never left me, it finally had somewhere to go. And for the first time since everything fell apart, it let me breathe.